Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel. We get a fun one today. We do. I'm actually quite excited about this. I had so much fun with typing up my script for this one. I had so much fun researching for it. This is going to be great. Honestly, I had to do a video about this and write a whole script about this specifically because while I was reading this, I was honestly thinking that this was probably one of the most interesting life stories that I have ever heard and or read about in my life. And I looked into the life story of Rasputin, so that should tell you something. Today is the day that we talk about the extremely interesting life of Emperor Commodus of the ancient times of Rome. Now, the emperor was known as I like to say, as a man of many hats. And he was a gladiator, he was a great king, and a god to his people, or at least he had them convinced that he was a god. He was also eventually known as the man who brought the Roman Empire away from being a, quote, kingdom of gold to one of iron and rust. Now, this was quoted from a few different Roman historians, and Emperor Commodus was also the young man during the co-rulership with his father who brought about the end of the 80-year-long time of peacefulness that Rome was in before he came to rulership. Now, they say that Rome was in a state of peacefulness, blah, 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 but the thing is that Rome during history was never actually in a time of peacefulness. They were continually sending troops out to do different crusades and stuff. Rome just hadn't themselves been attacked, so I myself definitely would not call it times of peace. However, the research that I looked into by Mr. Carl Seaver was continually calling it times of peace, and I would personally not ever call it that because they were constantly sending out different crusades and different, yeah, they were always in battle. Like, their armies didn't really get many breaks, so I'm not entirely sure why they would call it times of peace personally, but that's how we're going to speak about it during the video because I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, the emperor was a lot more than just one thing, and it showed through his short-lived life. Well, short-lived by today's standards, anyhow. Commodus, who was the son of the famed emperor Marcus Aurelius, lived what I would personally call an extravagantly interesting life, personally. Now, it began with being flung into the spotlight along with his twin brother, even though Commodus was the firstborn son within marriage, making him the sole heir to his father's throne. Despite what one might think, Commodus's life was also far from easy. Matter of fact, it was quite difficult. However, he did make a name for himself, so yeah, think what you want. And whether you see him as a tyrant or one of the greatest emperors to have ever lived and or an amazing public leader, one thing that cannot be denied is that this man lived his life to the fullest and to the best of his ability. Like, his first 15 years of life were spent ruling alongside his father, and the last 16 years of his life were ruling alone in pure, unadulterated chaos. Like, just complete and utter mischief. And a little bit of lunacy, but we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Commodus became the youngest emperor in Roman history at the time, at the age of 15, and that's only a part of what we're talking about here today, because he was born on August 31st in the year 161 AD. The young fella became a significant figure right away, and this was due to just his lineage alone. There wasn't really anything else that had any kind of part in it yet. At the very young age of 6, Commodus became Caesar alongside his second-born twin brother. He acquired the title on October 12th, 166 AD, and within another 3 years, his twin brother passed on from the ongoing plagues, which would be devastating for anyone to have to deal with. Let's just be completely honest here. In the year 176, by his father's proclamation, Commodus became co-ruler alongside of his father, marking the new beginning of times of war. He, alongside his, well, I'm calling it a new beginning to times of war because they just continually started setting off on multiple different battles. Like, they just kept invading. Anyway. He, alongside his father, set to invading the German tribes along the Danube River. And at the age of 19, after his father also passed away from the plagues, Commodus became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire, and he quickly started doing things very differently from his father. For example, immediately coming to terms with the German tribes and then changing his name to honor his father's memory to the very long Caesar, Marcus, Aurelius, Commodus, Antonius, Augustus. Holy hobgoblins, that is almost impossible to pronounce. Okay, Commodus. By the way, just a weird question. Does anybody happen to know, did they name, like, the commode after Commodius? Just curious. It sounds fairly similar. Anyway. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. My brain works weird. Commodus also quickly devalued the denarius, which was the official Roman currency, which was one of the largest cuts to its value since the cuts to the currency during the reign of Nero's. Commodus's reign would be filled with strange decisions of the like that were typically, if not always, disagreed upon by his people. Quite fortunately, though, his decisions weren't always bad ones. Matter of fact, Commodus's rule resulted in far fewer military excursions and fights when compared to his father's. However, he did still mess up and plunge the Roman Empire into poverty, which was to be expected. You can't exactly let a teenager rule the country and expect things to go well. Like, come on. This was a kid we're talking about here. Like, teenagers are frivolous and impulsive, and there is nothing anybody can say to tell me otherwise unless you have, like, a weirdly responsible teenager, but that's normally the result of a neglectful parent. So cool, that's that. Anyway, due to his poor decision making, the young emperor became the target of an assassination. A group of senators alongside his sister Lucilia, that's a weirdly difficult to pronounce name as well. Anyway, Lucilla? I think, yeah, anyway. They planned to assassinate him while he was entering the theater and behead the empire's leader before he brought about their downfall. However, their assassination attempt failed, and Commodus had all of them executed in retaliation. Yeah. Is it weird that when I, like, think about that, I literally just imagine somebody trying to walk into a theater while somebody is, like, standing beside the doorway about to swing a sword, and they, like, duck. And they're just like, fuck! Shit! Guards! Come get them! Get them! It's like, wouldn't be that hard to... Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. This also sent him into a violently paranoid downward spiral of viciousness and a path of growingly poor decision making that the larger number of the masses of people disagreed with, but at least he didn't want to like go and wage more wars. Matter of fact, he listened very closely to his armies and tended to appeal to his military forces rather than his people. So, yeah. And the growing ignorance about what the general population wanted created a lot of political discourse, which led to more coups, conspiracy theories, and attempted assassinations. All of this made Commodus much more vicious in nature, along with him developing a little bit more of a dictatorial streak. More? How can you have more of a dictatorial streak? Like, just a question. That's a little bit scary. Anyway, as the chaos, as they're calling it, continued to grow, gradually his political enemies rose to power and tried to take his throne, to all fail and be taken out by way of execution by Commodus's soldiers, or with or without orders. One example was Clander, who was a favorite of Commodus and eventually rose to become the leader of the Praetorian Guard, and the man behind a string of political office sales to the highest bidder, which, you know, made Commodus very upset and, you know, and just kind of off with his head. He was a murderous dude, don't get me wrong. He was very bloodthirsty. Apparently, he just didn't really care for the excursions. He just let the armies pick what they wanted, where they wanted to go attack and where they didn't. And or when they wanted to go attack and when they didn't. It's like, yeah, we still want to fight, but we only want to fight when we want to or where we want to. And he just let them, like, whatever, cool, sure, do your thing, guys. Okay, sir. So many stories that sounded a lot like this popped up all over the empire for over the years of Commodus's rule, and every single one ended with an assassination attempt, followed by their execution or political exile for a reason of treason. Is the reason, is the treason, I don't know why he had to off with their heads. He could have just sent them out of Rome, but I guess they could come back with a new army of their own. I don't know where this stuff keeps coming from, guys. As more attempts on Commodus's life were made, he became more and more paranoid, and he lost his trust for everyone around him. And as a result of his paranoia and mistrust, he eventually began to go insane. And by the age of 29 in the year 190, he fully committed to ruling independently. He fully ignored the Senate and ruling his empire as if he thought that he were blessed by a godlike power, which he actually true, because of his survival of the multiple assassination attempts. Like, this dude literally thought that he was some kind of, oh my gosh, he thought that he was a character straight out of Clash of the Titans. It's kind of ridiculous. He literally set up statues of himself across the empire. And he, made it of him as a representation of Hercules, adding to his own belief that he was a god, and leading to his most loyal followers to believe that he was blessed by the gods and was suited with superhuman strength, freedoms, and abilities like a frickin' D&D character. So he himself was insane to a point where he started driving his citizens insane. It's kind of, I can't remember what the name for it is, but it's I'm gonna shut up now because I'm having a brain fart. Yeah. I'm just gonna get back to Commodus, because this is the interesting thing. This is what you're here for. You're here for Commodus. You're not here for me. I am not the main character here. Commodus is the main character. I am just the person who's telling his story. I'm literally never the main character, honestly. Like, I'm not even the main character in my own life. I just kind of sit back, be quiet, and let everybody else take the wheel. The only time that I ever even unmask is when I have the camera turned on. Like, I fully unmask for you guys. I don't know, man. My nose is itchy. Someone's talking about me. Commodus eventually claimed to be the son of Jupiter and that he would bring about a new era and bring new order to the empire, which was literally the most completely stark contrast to what actually happened. Like, a huge fire swept through Rome just a year later in 191, destroying homes, landmarks, and political buildings. And that, for some unbeknownst reason, did not stop him from letting his reputation that he created go to his head, since in 192, only a year after the fire, Commodus thought that it would be a great idea to declare himself the Romulus, and he announced that he would re-establish Rome as the Colonia Luciana Commodiana, also known as the Colony of Commodus. After he was already driven mad by power, Commodus started battling in the gladiatorial arena, battling both fighters and lions alike. How he survived this, I'm not entirely sure. I do know that the emperor was kind of insane at this point and kept building off of his belief that he was a god and apparently the son of Jupiter. So he replaced, like, the statue of Colossus of Nero. Like, he replaced the head on the statue of Colossus of Nero and replaced it with his own, as well as adorning it with a club and the head of a lion, and added to the statue's inscription, now representing Hercules, the only left-handed fighter to slay 12 times 1,000 men. Also, in the year 192, Commodus arranged the Plebeian Games, where he killed hundreds of animals and won daily fights as a gladiator, which, I'm going to be completely honest, I couldn't really find anything, like any actual descriptions of the fights that he was in. However, I am assuming that because he was the emperor, that they literally threw these dudes in the arena with the emperor while he was, like, fully armored and, like, had multiple weapons, and these guys were just, like, halfway naked and no weapons, and they were just running around like, please don't kill me, Commodus, I don't want to die, you know, mercy. And then they were just, like, letting in rabbits and deer and then lions, and then the only ones that he actually had to fight were the lions, but the lions were probably, like, pre-tamed, and he just ran over and stabbed them. My brain's weird. I'm sorry. Just a month later, on December the 30th, he announced his intention to start the year 193 as Council and Gladiator, as well as Commodus created a list of people that he planned to execute, meaning he planned to murder them, once he gained more power. On that list was his mistress Marcia Aluria Sionia Demetrius. She was on the list alongside the prefect Laetius and Eclectius. Jesus, these are some weird names. Well, not even weird names. They're just difficult to pronounce. Commodus is a pretty weird name. It literally makes me think of toilets. I'm sorry, guys. My brain works odd, okay? I have a weird brain. I'm sorry. They were all so done with Commodus's drive into insanity and his plan to absolute power. So the trio devised a plan to poison him, bringing an end to his rule and the gradual downfall of the Pax Romana. That was the plan, at least, but unfortunately for them, Commodus puked up the food, surviving yet another assassination attempt, but the three of them were not done yet. No. They went, and they got his wrestling partner, Narcissus. And I'm gonna be completely honest, I have no idea how they got him to do it. Like, maybe they lied and said that he was on Commodus's hit list. Maybe they're just like, oh, hey, I'll pay you all this money if you go, like, kill the Emperor. Or maybe they're just like, oh, yeah, if you can succeed in killing Emperor Commodus, we're gonna spare your life. You're going to not be murdered for treason, whatever. I have no idea how they convinced him to do it. Maybe they just gave him a fucking piece of smoked salmon. I'm pretty sure it probably wouldn't have been that hard. Commodus was insane. I don't think anybody really wanted him in power anymore. Yeah. I do know that they sent him to Commodus and they had him murder him by strangulation while the Emperor was taking a bath. And I'm sorry, but all of that, all of the other assassination attempts failed, and the one that did work was sending his wrestling partner into the room while he was in the bath and having him strangle him. Y'all don't even want to know what I'm picturing here. I'm sitting here and like, this was ancient Rome. These are gladiators. His wrestling partner went in there and like rizzed him up. Just got just close enough to him that he could couldn't be fought off. Couldn't be fought off. Everything was too slippery. I'm sorry. I'm awful. Anyways, after Commodus passed on, the Roman Empire basically went back to normal because the Senate, like, disinstated all of the stuff that he put into place and, like, made everything the way that it was before because Commodus literally put the country into poverty. He let the armies go do their thing all willy-nilly. He was just going insane. He was killing all the lions. Like, come on. Calm down. Slow your roll, bro. Personally, I think he was a little bit of a tyrant. He was kind of insane. He probably shouldn't have ever been emperor to begin with. He was crazy. He was a crazy dude. But he led a very interesting life. One thing that nobody can say is that Emperor Commodus did not live his life by his own rules to his own standards. Like, this was his thing. Like, he lived his life to the fullest. He did what he wanted. He did as he pleased. He was all like, I am the emperor and I can do it. This dude was basically Cusco if Cusco actually had power. I swear to God. But anyways, I don't know why these are the similes that I'm making, but I love you guys. I hope that you had as much fun listening to this as I had, once again, researching it and going through everything to find the information, and as much fun as I had with writing up the script that I did for this, and how much I had reading it back out and filming it. And you know what? This has been so much fun. I honestly hope that we get to do more fun videos like this in the future, and that you guys enjoyed the video. Please like the video if you like the video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, because this is obviously one of your favorite YouTube channels. Please dislike the video if you dislike the video, but tell me why you dislike the video down in the comments so that I know what I can do better for the next one. As always, I will see you in the next one. I love you guys. Bye-bye. Mwah.